Take your time, sir. There's absolutely no rush. We're here to serve you, not to make you feel hurried or uncomfortable. 24-year-old Saffron Delane's voice was steady and warm as she placed a gentle hand on the table, her eyes meeting those of the man who'd been struggling to order for the past 3 minutes. His face was flushed with embarrassment, his jaw working around words that wouldn't come smoothly. And across the diner, 2 businessmen in expensive suits were snickering behind their menus, their cruel laughter barely disguised. I'd like the chicken, the man managed, his hands clenched in frustration, sweat beading on his forehead, despite the cool October evening. The chicken parmesan? Saffron suggested gently, not finishing his sentence for him, but offering a bridge. That's an excellent choice. It's my personal favorite. Would you like soup or salad with that? Before he could answer, one of the businessmen called out loudly, "Hey, sweetheart, maybe serve customers who can actually talk first. Some of us have places to be." The diner went quiet. Every head turned. The stammering man, maybe early 30s, dressed simply in jeans and a worn jacket, looked down at the table, his entire body radiating shame. And something in Saffron snapped. She turned slowly, her expression calm but her eyes blazing with quiet fury. "Gentlemen, if you're in such a hurry, perhaps you should have chosen a fast food establishment instead of a sit-down restaurant. Here at Riverside Diner, we serve every customer with equal respect and patience, regardless of how quickly they can order. If that doesn't work for you, I'm happy to refund your drinks and you can find somewhere more suited to your particular standards." The businessman sputtered, clearly unused to being challenged. The manager started to approach, looking nervous, but Saffron held up a hand. "And if there's a problem with how I'm treating our guests, I'll gladly discuss it after I finished serving this gentleman properly." She turned back to the stammering man with a gentle smile. "Now, where were we? Soup with salad." The man's eyes were bright with unshed tears, not from the mockery Saffron realized, but from being defended. "Salad, please," he managed. "And thank you. Most people don't." "Most people should," Saffron said firmly but kindly. "You have every right to dine here and be treated with dignity. Please, take all the time you need." The businessman left shortly after, leaving deliberately small tips and muttering complaints. The manager pulled Saffron aside, worried about the scene, but she stood her ground. "If we don't stand up for basic human decency, what are we doing? That man deserved respect, and those customers were bullies." The stammering man, whose name she learned was Quillen Reese, stayed for over an hour, eating slowly, occasionally attempting conversation that Saffron met with patient attention and genuine interest. He left a modest tip and a quietly spoken thank you that felt weighted with more gratitude than words could carry. The next morning, Saffron arrived for her shift to find the diner in chaos, staff members huddled in worried clusters, the manager pacing frantically. "What's happening?" Saffron asked. "The owner sold the place," her coworker whispered. "Some investor bought it overnight. Nobody knows what's going to happen to our jobs, whether there'll be layoffs, new management." An hour later, a man in an elegant suit walked through the door, accompanied by a lawyer and an accountant. It took Saffron a moment to recognize him. Quillen Reese, the stammering customer from last night, now transformed, confident, professional. Their eyes met. Quillen's expression was unreadable. I'd like to speak with the entire staff, please," he said, his stammer still present, but his voice carried authority despite it. In the main dining room, he addressed the nervous employees. My name is Quillen Reese. As of this morning, I own this restaurant. I'm a real estate investor, and I've been looking for a property in this area. Last night, I came here to evaluate the location, and I experienced both the worst and best of what this place offers." He paused, his gaze finding Saffron again. "I've stammered since childhood. Neurological condition, nothing I can fix. I've built a successful career despite it, but I still face mockery regularly. Most places people either ignore it awkwardly or treat me like I'm intellectually impaired. But last night, one person here treated me like a human being deserving of respect. One person stood up for me when she had no obligation to do so." The room was silent, everyone's eyes shifting between Quillen and Saffron. "I'm not firing anyone," Quillen continued, "but I am implementing new policies. This restaurant will be a place that values dignity for everyone, staff and customers. We'll train in accessibility, in patience, in seeing people's humanity first. And Saffron," he looked directly at her, "I'd like to offer you the position of general manager if you're interested. Not because I owe you something, but because you demonstrated the kind of leadership and compassion this place needs." Saffron was speechless, overwhelmed. I'm just a waitress. I don't have management experience." "You have something more valuable," Quillen said gently. "You chose kindness when it cost you something. Those businessmen's tips, potentially your job for making a scene."
You could have ignored the situation, served me quietly, avoided conflict, but you didn't. That's the kind of character I want leading this establishment. What Saffron didn't know, what Quillen revealed later during their first official meeting, was that he'd been struggling with something deeper than just finding a restaurant investment. He'd been battling depression, feeling worn down by years of small cruelties, questioning whether kindness still existed in a world that seemed increasingly harsh. That night at the diner, he'd been at a low point, considering whether his success even mattered if he'd always be dismissed because of how he spoke. Your defense wasn't just about one moment, Quillen told him quietly in his new office. It reminded me that there are still people who choose compassion over cruelty, who see beyond surface differences to someone's worth. You literally saved me from a very dark place.
Saffron's eyes filled. I just did what felt right. Exactly, Quillen said. That's who you are. That's why I trust you to help make this place what it should be. Not just a restaurant, but a community space where everyone belongs. Over the following year, Riverside Diner transformed. Under Saffron's management and Quillen's ownership, it became known as the most welcoming restaurant in town, hiring staff with disabilities, training everyone in patient communication, creating a culture where dignity mattered more than efficiency. Business actually grew as word spread about the inclusive atmosphere. Quillen and Saffron became close friends and collaborative partners, each bringing different strengths. He taught her about business operations. She taught him about the human side of service. They worked together to expand the model to other struggling restaurants, creating a small chain built on the radical idea that treating people well was good for both ethics and profits. One evening, a year after that transformative night, they stood together watching the dinner rush. A diverse crowd of customers, including elderly people, families with special needs children, individuals with various disabilities, all being served with patience and respect. You know what still amazes me? Quillen said softly. How one moment of kindness changed everything. If you'd stayed silent, if you just brought those businessmen their food and ignored what was happening, I would have finished my meal and left. Another bad experience in a long line of them. But you spoke up. I couldn't not speak up, Saffron replied. Watching someone be humiliated for something they can't control, that's not something you ignore if you have any humanity at all. Most people do ignore it, Quillen said gently. Every day. They see suffering and look away because getting involved is uncomfortable, risky, inconvenient. You didn't. That made all the difference. Because kindness isn't passive. It's a choice, often a difficult one, requiring us to stand up when staying silent would be easier, to defend when ignoring would be safer, to see people's humanity when dismissing them would be more convenient. We never know whose life we might transform by simply treating them with the dignity they deserve, by refusing to let cruelty go unchallenged, by choosing compassion even when it costs us something. That's how the world changes, one brave act of kindness at a time, one person standing up for another, one moment of choosing love over indifference.
If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.